But there is hope. You see, when vision works, sorry, I didn't click your pencils. When vision works, our perspective returns. Isn't that a clever picture? It's good, isn't it? It's all painted on there. Verses 16 and 17, we read, "Don't be afraid," the prophet answered, "when those that are with us are more than those that are against them." I don't know if you've ever been going through something and then you meet Mr. or Mrs. Super Spiritual and they come out with something. Do you know, it's all right, there's more with us than there are against us. You know, it's okay to trot that out, but unless we actually know there are more with us than there are against us, it's very difficult to grasp that, isn't it? Oh, we can be honest. We can be honest. You know, I mean, we used to have this thing at school, didn't we? You know, if you had a big brother, it'd be like, "I'll get my brother on you. He's bigger than you." And then you get this thing, "Well, my brother is bigger than your brother. I'll get him. Well, I'll get my dad. My dad's bigger than your dad. Yeah, well, I'll get my dad and his 4 brothers, and they'll have your dad." All this kind of thing. Obviously, it wasn't like that in your school. That was just Bible college. It was really rough. So, yeah. And Elisha prayed, he said, "Open his eyes, Lord, so that he may see." Then the Lord opened the servant's eyes, and he looked and saw the hills full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. Notice something there in our text, that the horses and the chariots of fire, this angelic army, were all around Elisha, but they were stationed around the hills. You see, the presence of God goes with us, even if we don't see the presence of God. But there are times as well when the presence of God surrounds the vicinity where we are, not just us. So the presence of God begins to surround our workplace. The presence of God begins to surround our family. The presence of God is bigger than just us. And so we need to understand that as we get a hold of this and say, when our vision starts to work, then our perspective will return. You see, Elisha had a different perspective to his servant. He understood that God was the God who intervened. He understood that God was there, even though he couldn't be seen by those around him. And so he just asked for the servant's eyes to be opened. This asked for everyone's eyes, because if everyone's eyes had been open, they'd all run away, wouldn't they? I mean, that would have just been simpler. That would have been easier. But Elisha has to walk through this fresh perspective so that we can learn today, but also so his servant can have confidence in God. You see, sight is the ability to see what is in front of us. Sight is an ability to look at something and say, "That's what I see." But vision is an ability to look at what we see, but also know what we do not see, and also know what can be. There is a difference between having sight and having vision for our life. Sight will make us see what is, but vision will make you see what will be there. Sight will make you see what is happening, but vision will make you see what's going to happen. Sight sees the predicament, but vision sees the potential. Sight will see the present, but vision sees the promise of God. We know at times life can be tough. And sometimes the unexpected does happen to us. Sometimes bad things happen to good people. Suffering just seems to be equally spread sometimes amongst the Christian church and the world. But we understand that we have a different perspective on what's actually going on. Isn't that right? Or is it just me? It's just me. We have a different perspective. And so when people said to me, "Well, why did Barbie fall over? Why did all those sort of things happen? Is the devil attacking you?" Well, I don't know if the devil tripped her up. I think he's, to be honest, I think it was probably more due to the fact she was reading her text going downstairs, to be honest. But you see, then when things happen to us, the enemy can come along and try and use those situations to make us downcast, to make us fear for what the future might hold, to make us step back a little bit. But we actually decided we're not going to make a deal with the devil on this one. We're just going to rejoice night and day as we walk the narrow way. And in Barbie's case, I wheeled along the narrow way, a little bit anyway. So sometimes stuff happens, friends. Sometimes life happens. And we need to have a perspective that can see not just what's happening, but what could be. You see, the Bible tells us in 2 Corinthians 4, verse 16, "Therefore, do not lose heart. Though outwardly we're wasting away, yet inwardly we're being renewed day by day. For our light and momentary troubles," read that, "our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but what is unseen. Since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. As I was praying this morning, something came to mind that actually, when we're going through a difficult time, the issue is not that we keep our faith. The issue is that our faith keeps us. It's not that we keep our faith, but our faith keeps us, that we're able to press forward. You see, there's an eternal perspective that all of us need to grasp, that actually in the moment that we're living, but that might be the moment, but it's not the end. That there's more to it than that. Now you might be saying, Keith, I need something a bit more tangible than just to know that eternally it's all going to work out. Well, that's wonderful, because right here I am, right now in my life, it's tough, it's difficult, stuff's going on, and I've lost my perspective, but I'm just here in the middle of it, and all you're telling me is, all right, it'll be okay one day when you get to heaven. And quite honestly, Keith, that's a little bit patronizing. Do you know, you're okay to feel that way, but there are more promises in the Bible for us to get hold of. We sang one of these in our last song. If we were to look at Psalm chapter 30 and verse 5, we read, "For his anger lasts only a moment, but his favor lasts a lifetime. Weeping may stay for the night, but rejoicing comes in the morning." Rejoicing comes in the morning. Our afflictions, whatever they are, no matter how large they seem, we need to realize this, that the mountain that we face doesn't get bigger. The mountain we face doesn't get bigger. We get bigger. We become a people of faith. So therefore, with faith the size of a mustard seed, we're able to say to that mountain, "Be ye removed," and it is, and it's tossed into the sea. But there's more than that, because sometimes mountains aren't removed, are they? Do you ever have that experience? You're just banging your head against the kind of rock wall of a mountain face. My friends, if the mountain won't move, then you need to get bigger. You need to get hold of Scripture that says that troubles might last for the night, but joy's coming in the morning. That this thing I'm facing is only temporary. That this thing I'm facing isn't going to last my lifetime. It isn't going to last more than the next week. It may not last the next day. In fact, some of us just need the word of the Lord that says the sun is about to rise. The S-O-N, sun, is about to rise on the situation that we're facing this morning. Because our perspective needs to be that we're surrounded by the fiery chariots of God. That we're surrounded by His army, by His victory, by His provision. You say, Keith, that seems impossible. My friends, it's not impossible, for the Word of God promises it to us. And we just sang it, that trouble might last for a night, but joy comes in the morning. If you would like to grab hold of your red pencils, they're red. I didn't feel it appropriate to hand out blue pencils. Although our commiserations go to Bayern Munich, our congratulations go to Chelsea, and thank you for the gracefulness that all you Chelsea supporters have shown today. You see, though my suffering may last for a night, my joy is coming in the morning. Does anyone know how many English players are in the Chelsea team? 2, isn't it? 3. How can we claim that as a British victory over Germany? I'll never know. But anyway, you Chelsea supporters have great faith, and we love you. But these are red because they're washed in the blood of I was going to say Liverpool, but they're washed in the blood of the Lamb for you. Can you hold your pencil up like this, please? Just sideways on. Now, we're reminded that as we look at the pencil on the tip, that's a moment of our life. And as we go through our life, there will be many moments. There will be many times that nib is resharpened and that it's actually, we're always living in that moment. But God doesn't see that. He sees this. He looks at the beginning of our life to the end of our life. He's able to look at every moment that we're about to go through, even though we can't anticipate whether if we sharpen the pencil, if it's broken inside or not. But actually, God knows. He looks at everything. He looks at every triumph, every trial, and He's able to say, I'm with you. In fact, if I could stretch the analogy slightly on this and say, if we are the lead, then God is the wood. If we're the lead, then He's the wood. And this is how God sees time. He lives in the moment with us, but He also sees everything. He lives in this moment of eternity with us, but He also sees the beginning and the end. This is why it's the Alpha and Omega, and the beginning and the end. My friends, this little pencil could change your life. For every time you look at it, you could say, yes, I might be living in a moment, but my God sees the beginning of the end. He sees beyond it. He sees every moment I'm going to face. You see, when vision begins to work, our perspective begins to change. And we're able to say, eventually, if you want to stretch, an analogy can be overstretched, but if you want to stretch it a bit further, we all know that at some point, if we use these pencils, we're going to have to sharpen it, and there'll be a new nib, and a new moment, and a new experience within our life. The moment you're living in does not last forever, whether it's good or bad, but the King of Glory lasts beyond our lifetime. Hold on to your pencils, we're going to come back to them in a little bit. Aren't you glad you came? You get a free gift.